Welcome everyone. We're doing a little off the cuff podcast with
Carter Pennant or Carter Christie on TikTok. I've got two different names for two different accounts. It's a bit of a weird one, but yeah, no, man, it's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure to be here with yourself.
Yeah, no, I just thought it'd be cool to connect and talk about. We're into in that similar space, so we can talk about some interesting stuff. But yeah, like I'll let you kind of introduce yourself. Like, how did you kind of get into all this stuff, and what is your kind of what's your message?
It's a weird one, right? Because it's like, what would you consider? Before I obviously tell my story, what would you consider as like this stuff? Would you say it's like the young men's self-improvement space or the male self-improvement space? What would you say yourself? How would you quantify what it is that me and you are kind of both involved in?
Definitely the self-improvement. I'd say mainly to young men, but there's still a space for it on the older side. I think though where it's needed more is like the younger generation of like men today. So yeah, I'd say it encompasses a bit of everything, like health, fitness, dating, relationships, mindset. It is all kind of intertwined. So
yeah,
that's what I would say.
I'd quantify it the same, to be fair. I think for me, where I first got into it, it's actually a mad story. So I was actually raised by a single mother. Don't live with my biological father. She married my stepdad, who I still live with now. And I have a lot of respect for him. I don't want to say, I have no negative words to say about him. He's a true role model of what a real man is to me. Like, he provides for my family and does a lot of stuff for us collectively. However, when it came to like dating and relationships and stuff like that, when I was younger, around 16, 17, I didn't necessarily have a role model to go to. So when you're in that position, obviously I have an older brother as well. He's 2 years older than me. He used to send me YouTube videos of different guys on YouTube, like OGs back in the day. I'm talking like early 2010s. There was a few guys out there. The first guy that we came across was some guy who played like Call of Duty and Minecraft called Thaddeus Peterschmidt. And he's like an OG. Like, you probably might not even find any videos of this guy on YouTube anymore, but he was like a proper American jock. And he used to give like little dating advice on how to get girls when I was like fucking 12 years old. And at the time, I didn't know anything about the game. So I was learning from my brother, who's 2 years older than me, and he's learning from Thaddeus, who's, I don't know, maybe 3 years older than him. And we were getting a lot of knowledge just about dating and stuff like that when I was like 13, 14. Then it came to a little bit later down the road when I was around 16. For reference, I'm 25 now. And I came across a guy, my brother came across a guy on YouTube called Raj Dibazar. And this is an unknown guy you probably won't see anywhere else on the internet, but the best way to describe him is Tate before Tate. That's the best way to describe him. So no one knows who the fuck this guy is. But in 2013 or 2012 even, he was literally saying everything pretty much that Tate's saying today, back then, maybe 9 or 10 years ago. I'll be very surprised even to know if Tate hasn't studied some of his stuff from earlier on, because it's literally like word for word the stuff that Tate says. Basically, this guy was saying 9 or 10 years ago on YouTube videos. And when my brother came across him, he basically said, "Oh, look, I know you're watching Thaddeus Peterschmidt, but this is the guy you need to watch because he knows a lot more." And this was when I was around 15 years old. So I started just devouring this guy's stuff when it comes to women and all of this stuff, right? And he was basically a pickup artist. So I'm not too sure if you're aware of like pickup arts or that kind of world at all. You dug in? Yeah. So Mystery and the Mystery Method and the Game and Neil Strauss and all of that, right? So
yeah, I'm not as familiar in terms of, I know of them. I haven't like delved too much into their stuff.
Right. So they're basically like Mystery, and there's another guy called Ross Jeffries. These are the two guys that basically founded like Game, essentially, as we know it today, and the Red Pill. It all stems literally from those two. And Mystery was basically a guy who went into the field, like, or clubs and stuff like that, and just dated or tried to basically learn. Yeah, so he done magic.
He kind of came the peacocking terminology, right?
Literally,
where he dressed like very bizarrely to attract, like it was kind of just to draw attention to him.
Literally, yeah. So he wear platform shoes and top hats, and he was like fucking 6'5", so he looked like 7 feet tall. And when he'd go out into the field and stuff like that, but he developed basically a system to get women attracted to him, right? And from that, Obviously, he gained a lot of case studies of female nature, of female psychology, and also male psychology. And Ross Jeffries is even older than Mystery, but he was more based, he's more of a seduction artist than an actual pickup artist. So he used language patterns and NLP and hypnosis and stuff like that to get women, which is, I haven't delved into that world. That's just a bit creepy to me, but it does definitely work. And a lot of people have got results from that. Long story short, the guy I was learning from, Mirage, studied game under Mystery and Matador, who was also like Mystery's top wingman at the time. And he learned about the pickup arts and stuff like that. But he also had an extensive background in self-improvement and self-development. So he was researching, reading books on the mind, studying like the yogis of the past, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, Sadhguru, Osho, like the OGs of like, well, the yogis, right? You know what I mean? Eastern philosophy, Western philosophy, Stoicism, all of this stuff. And he basically combined the pickup arts with self-improvement. And that is kind of what the red pill is today, in my opinion, right? Like the red pill states you need to become a high value man, get your shit together, and then women will come to you. But in like 2013, 2012, that is basically what he was doing. He was a guy who was a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He was, he had like 2 or 3 businesses set up, and that is how he basically managed to get women into his world. So when it came to dating and stuff like that, I was never a pickup artist, or I don't know. I've always, since 15, since learning about him, he had a big emphasis on actually not trying to display your value when you don't have it, which is what the pickup arts is about. It's about portraying yourself as a high value man.
Yeah.
He was about becoming an actual high value man. So getting your shit together. Yeah. And that's obviously what self-improvement's about today.
It's like the difference between doing and being, you know. Like a lot of people are doing things that short term, you can do something to make you appear high value, but being a high value, you don't have to do anything. You just being there is enough to create that.
That's it, man. And that was what his whole philosophy of teaching game was based upon. The thing is, you need to know the moves in the game. You need to know how to demonstrate higher value towards a woman and what a demonstration of a lower value is. If you go on a date with a girl and you ain't been on a date in 2 or 3 years, even, you say, "Oh, hi, love. Yeah, so I'm so glad you came out with me. This is the first date I've been on in 3 years." You know what I mean? Immediately, she's gonna think you're a fucking loser. You ain't got no pre-selection, right? Even if that's the case, you just don't say that because you know the game and you know not to demonstrate lower value. But there is obviously the outer game, right? Which is what I would describe as, like I said, knowing demonstrations of higher value, no demonstrations of lower value. But then you've got the inner game, which is everything self-improvement. That's your own view of yourself. That's like being ambitious, having like a forward moving momentum towards your goals and actually going for shit in your life. That's having a great physique. The 4 pillars, right? Looks, money, stats, and game. That is what I would say the inner game actually is actually being the guy that you're trying to portray to her. Then it's just about actually having the communication skills to be able to get yourself across, which is hard, but it's a lot easier once you've actually got the assets to back yourself up. So yeah, I learned from him, and I was in a relationship with a girl for 5 years. The relationship actually came to an end at the end of last year, 2021. And fuck, man, like I was figuring out, like, obviously I've known about the female nature kind of, I didn't know about the red pill, but I knew about female nature just through learning his stuff. Like he spoke about basically hypergamy and stuff like that, kind of indirectly. Like he always said, yeah, your girl will, I don't know, it's controversial, some of the stuff he said, but he would say stuff like, your girl's going to cheat on you at some point and you need to be ready for that. Like these kind of concepts are always in my mind, but I didn't really know where he got them from until I went through a breakup myself and actually discovered the red pill and the rational male and all of these books by Rollo, Tomasi, all of the guys in like the red pill space. That's when it clicked. And I managed to kind of see where he was coming from and the way he was viewing dating. And yeah, since then, it's just been on a journey of self-discovery over this last year of the red pill, trying to tie it together with everything I've learned over the last few years as well. That's a long story.
Is that a lot? No, that's great. I love that. That's a lot to do with your relationship and potentially like discovering that red pill, because do you feel like you were potentially looking through a lens of like what they would call the blue pill lens, where, you know, when you were in that relationship, you kind of thought everything was hunky-dory and, you know,
Yeah,
Was it
it's
a mixture of
interesting.
two? Was it kind of like I kind of in the back of my head knew the stuff, but I didn't actually know it was real until it happened to me, kind of thing?
That's it. Like you hear about it, right? I'll say I'm purple pill, right? That's what they say if you're in the middle of the blue and the red. And it's like, yeah, I was learning from this guy, and he was telling me a lot of this stuff. Like, look, um, women have another side to them, right? Do you know what I mean? That is not portrayed in the media, in the Disney films and Hollywood and this, that, and the next. And it's not a knock on women actually. I want to get into this later on, to be fair, because I have a very, very unique view on the way that I see like female nature and male nature. But yeah, women have another side to them that it's not discussed basically, right? And you do have a blue pill lens when you're looking at it, and you're unaware of the actual true biology of the woman. So once my relationship went or came to an end, and the way that it actually ended as well, it was like, oh shit, like there's some major parts in my understanding of relationships and women that I completely overlooked. And that's when I obviously discovered the red pill and started looking into actual female nature, female psychology. And then it just started to click and make more sense to me as to why things went the way that they went. So yeah, I mean, it is true. I would say I was purple pill because I knew a lot of it, but I wasn't really detailed on the stuff that I know now. And that's due to reading like 11 books basically in the first half of this year, just fucking going mental trying to figure out what the fuck happened. And that's how I discovered a lot of different truths about like relationships that I would swear by today. I'll probably say these are bullshit 5 years from now though.
What's that? What's a bullshit?
And I'm saying I'll probably say 5 years from now, the stuff that I believe in today will probably be stuff that I'm thinking, what the fuck was I talking about then, right? But it's just the evolution of a man and your knowledge as it goes on throughout the years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I've definitely been down that route myself, and having that understanding of female nature, like before you go into a relationship, is very, very powerful. And women these days will push the line as far as it will go. They'll do as much as they can get away with. So if you know how these women operate, you can prevent them from doing, like, taking the piss basically, because they will do it. You know, they will try and gain a power in the relationship, but you have to stay strong. You have to hold your boundaries. You know, you have to give her an impression that if she fucks up, you're gone. Like, and she has to believe it. You know, you have to say, like, she has to feel like that if she messes up, you are a man that is quite happy to walk away, and you've got shit going on. You've got a purpose. You know, you're an attractive, high value man. To find another woman, it's not going to be an issue for you. Yeah, of course you have a relationship. Yes, you care about this person, but if push comes to shove, you know, you can walk away. And I think a lot of men don't have that, and women don't respect them because of it. Like, they lack respect because the woman's like, well, you know, he's only with me because I'm the best he can get. She doesn't feel special. And then she starts trying to seek validation. She's no longer validated by him. So she tries to seek validation from other places. So she starts going out to the club, dressing up nice. You know, next thing you know, another guy comes along, and all of a sudden her eyes are set on him because he brings more to the table. And that is female nature in itself. You know, men look vertically. We're trying to build the biggest building. We're trying to become the best man we can be. Women look laterally. They're looking to who has the biggest building, and they want to go to that, you know. So as a man, it's just that game. You just need to focus on making your building as big as possible. And as long as your girlfriend or partner believes that you are the best thing she could get, then you shouldn't have an issue. But that takes work. You know, it doesn't just come, you know, by accident. But yeah, no, it's fascinating what you say about it all. And I don't know, what are some of the things, like, would you say you kind of, like, what were the big epiphanies, like, in the last year, you know, that kind of like hit home, like, oh shit, like, what were kind of the mistakes you might have made, you know?
Fucking hell, man. So many mistakes, man. So many mistakes. To be fair, I've never discussed this on my TikTok or anywhere, to be fair. And you're one of the first people that I'm discussing this with. But I see a human being as having three parts. You've got the mind, you've got the body, and you've got the spirit, right? And I believe we are the spirit. I don't believe we're the mind. I don't believe we're the body. They're components of who we are, but it's not actually who we are. The game of relationships and attraction is based solely on the body and the mind. Attraction, arousal, everything like that is triggering the sorry, is triggering, yeah, well, attraction is a trigger in the body. It's not a trigger in your spirit. You're the observer of your body and your mind, essentially. That's obviously like Buddhism and stuff like that. That's what they talk about, or that philosophy comes from. Sorry, one sec.
We've got 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah, we'll chop it up. Yeah. Yeah. So what I basically studied at the beginning of this year was looking at the actual biology. I was like, okay, so if it is mind, body, and spirit, I need to know about the body, specifically that part of men and women, right? And that's when you start learning about pre-selection and exactly what you said about women looking at the tallest building and their true nature. Their true nature is something that is natural, right? But how can I say it? It's hard to explain it. I would say we have a consciousness that goes above our true nature. However, I would say probably there's 5% of people in the whole world that actually have access to that consciousness and can be able to override their emotions. Do you get what I'm saying? So when you're dealing with women, if you come into it and you think she's going to be conscious and love you for you and all of this shit, you've got the game completely fucked up, because it's very few people. I mean, there's only a few people in like the Himalayas in India or Tibet or wherever it is, right, who have access to true consciousness and can override their animal nature. That's why you need to make sure, first and foremost, in your relationships, they're biologically fulfilled. I have an affirmation that I say to myself every day, which is my relationships are biologically fulfilled and spiritually binded. Because I think that is actually what the greatest relationship is on planet Earth, with a woman, or if we're taking male-female relationships, you want a relationship where biologically she's fulfilled, right? And you're biologically fulfilled. You look at her and you, obviously your dick gets hard and you want to go to work. She looks at you and she gets aroused by who you are, your power as a man, right? However, at the same time, she realizes that you're a spiritual being, and you realize she's a spiritual being, and you have a spiritual connection. But that, you don't even get to that stage if you don't have the biological fulfillment. So I guess this year was all about learning about the biological fulfillment. What does that actually entail? And obviously it comes down to essentially having status as a man and providing value. Relationships are just solely value-based at a biological level. What do you have to bring to the table, right? That's your survival value. That is the money that you make, the resources that you can provide, the emotional stability that you can provide, the spiritual stability, whatever it is that aids her survival. That's what she's looking for. We're just solely looking to reproduce, and we're looking for the best reproductive option that we have available to us. That's why obviously girls basically enhance their beauty and make themselves look more fertile. That's actually what beauty is about, right? Even if you know it's fake, you know there's 2 silicone cups behind her tits, and you know it's not real. However, it still biologically fulfills you. That's why you're attracted to it, right? So just learning about that side of things mainly this year was a big turning point for me, but also learning obviously about the spiritual side. And I've come to a conclusion now, you have to trigger the biology first before you even get into the spiritual realm of dealing with a woman. And I think ultimately that's where you need to take your relationship for it to be the best relationship you could possibly have. However, you don't even get a foot through the door in that realm if you're not biologically fulfilling her. That means you need to be the guy. You need to have the stakes. You need to actually be able to provide and give her what she's seeking for on a biological level, which is safety and security. And obviously arousal, you could say, by having pre-selection and obviously strength and whatever it is, right? So that is kind of where my study took me this year. I don't know if that's kind of coincided with stuff you've learned yourself.
Man, you explained that so well. That was incredible. Wow. You put that incredibly well. I've never really had it broken down like that, but I know exactly what you're saying. And that's fascinating, that's fascinating.
Yeah. Is that similar kind of study to what you've done, like when you got into the space, or?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, my situation was different. I think I kind of got into the game because I kind of realized I was, I thought I didn't know anything about like the red pill or game or that there was even like people out there helping with this stuff. I think I was in college. It was just some girl that I liked, and she kind of just didn't take me seriously. And I used to kind of like think I was the shit, but I wasn't. And then I remember one day I saw this video. Is Real Social Dynamics? Have you heard of them?
RSD, yeah, they're OGs, man.
Yeah, man. So RSD Max had this video, how to get out the friend zone. And I used to see this video pop up. It popped up a few times on my like recommended, but I thought, you know what? I don't need that. Like, well, why do you need to watch videos on how to talk to girls? Like, my ego was like saying, nah, you don't need that shit. Like, my ego was huge. I was like, nah. And then one day I thought, you know what? Drop the ego, fuck it. Clicked on this video, watched this like 20-minute long video, and boom, just from one video, like, so many change. Like, my whole mindset was fucked. Like, the way I was thinking about women was fucked. So I changed a few things, and all of a sudden I got a different response. And then from that point onwards, I was thinking, hold up, like, there's a method to the madness here. Like, you know, and then from then on, I pretty much kind of just climbed this ladder of attraction, where it was like, well, I realized I don't actually like this girl. It was more just she was the best thing I could get. So I just thought, and then I was on to the next one, and I was just kind of climbing this ladder, like, you know, applying the skills I learned. And then eventually, you know, when I was 18, I started going to the clubs. And like, when it came to clubbing, like, I would just go out all the time. You know, I was in the club every week. People knew, because I wanted to just gain as much experience as possible. I'd go out on my own. I didn't even go out with anyone. I'd just go out and I'd just use the skills that I learned, you know, through the RSD, like this, you know, just little game tactics. And it started off, but it was, and from the get-go, it was very do, like, do this, do that, this, do that. And then I think when I was about, I think I turned 19, and one day it just clicked, like, it's not about doing, it's about being, right? And I started to get the most attraction from doing nothing, because I just became that guy where it was like, I had this different aura about me where, you know, maybe I was talking to a female, and instead of like, I would just be quiet and just stand there silently. And it was just like, the energy was like different, you know. She was like, this guy's so grounded in himself, he's so confident in himself. But because I wasn't doing anything, that actually showed and amplified how confident I was, because I was just happy to casually stand there relaxed around, you know, girls and stuff. And it was that realization that then, that kind of, I don't know, I think I learned like that. I kind of just I sort of embodied that high value mindset. And then then I had to, but then it was more of a case of like, but you know, my views are quite like, what's the word, idealistic. Like, you know, I want to find a nice girl, settle down. I'm not trying to go out here and bang a load of people. I kind of realized that's kind of a fruitless, voidful, you know, way of living. It may satisfy you for a little bit, but deep down it doesn't do anything. It's kind of, there's nothing good out there, you know. And I think that's where the space is. Like, a lot of guys are just like, you know, it's quite that soul goal, that deep goal of like finding love in a partner. I think a lot of the red pill have lost touch with that, because they're like wounded and they think that it's fucked, the game is fucked. But what you just explained was similar, where it's, you need to fulfill that biological role first before you can even think about the spiritual stuff, you know, before you can think about creating that love. And I think that's the problem. The people that want the love, they are trying to have that as the look at me, I have love, look. When a female's like, hey, it's great, but you know, I'm a woman, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, I need to feel protected, I need to provide for, you know, I need that security emotionally, financially, physically. And these guys aren't providing that. And then whereas there's men that have that by nature, but they're not interested in love, they don't care. So it's this dichotomy of like, you don't know what's what. But then there's these guys that present that love first, get heartbroken and realize, oh shit, I need this biological thing, cool, let's make that happen. Then they come back, but some of them stay wounded, they never heal, and they never are able to make a connection. But then, you know, it's that balance of finding that, of both of that. And that's kind of me. Like, I kind of had to navigate you know, a world like the youngsters today, like the whole dating, that's where you're going to see female nature, like in the younger generation or universities or things like that. You're going to see how female nature plays out, and how it's all about the biology. Who's the most alpha, who's the guy that all the girls want, that the girls want him. So, you know, to get the most attraction, you have to become that guy. And it's interesting how it all works. But I find it interesting, and it's something I'm very like, you know, I'm sure you've done a lot of research into these things, but I equally for myself, I've probably spent far too much time going into these like things.
I think one second, we need to reset. To be fair, I'll go back and say that, because I actually agree with what you said, and I do think that I definitely made a mistake in what I said about looks, money, status, and game being the outer game, because I 100% agree with you. I think that be in the inner game. That is absolutely the outer game. But yeah, I like the way you put it yourself, man. If you want to go off on that again.
Yeah, well, I'll rephrase it. So basically, yeah, like the looks, money, stats, like as you mentioned, you said it's like the outer game, but sorry, the inner game, but it's not. Like looks, money, stats, they're all external things that do, you know, you have your looks is an outside thing, your money is an outside thing, your status is an outside thing.
Yeah,
but you need that inner game to actually be able to obtain it. So the inner game of like the self-discipline, like believing you're worthy to have money, to have the status, you know, being confident enough to put yourself, having the courage to put yourself out there, to build a brand, to stand out from the crowd, to go against the grain. These are the things that women, status and looks and money. Anyone that says that they aren't things that women are attracted to, they're completely deranged. Like these are massive indicators of attraction for a woman. It's just that they're not everything, you know, because a lot of people have the looks, money, and status. Maybe they just fell lucky in life and they Love Island, they got paid, they got the status, they got the money, they got the looks, right? Probably someone on Love Island is going to get a lot of attraction, but okay, actually that's really a bad example because most of them are do all right with women, but you're not all of them, you know, some of them lack that inner game of who they are, the character they are. And
the thing is with it though, even if it's not even about women though, right? It's about who you are internally. There was the guy who was like complete fucking like Chad guy, who's 6 foot, like model looking guy, 6-pack, everything, right? He was on Love Island. I don't even know what his name is, to be fair, but he killed himself a couple years after the show. And he was on Love Island. He was a complete and utter epitome of the name, or like the guy that we would say Chad. Do you get what I'm saying? And he killed himself. So it's not necessarily just about your relationship with women, but it's your self-image. Do you know what I mean? It's your own mental health. That is, to be fair, yeah, I agree with you 100%. Looks, money, and status, that is completely the outer game, right? But the inner game is exactly what you said, which would be the spiritual kind of side of yourself, your calling, your purpose, where you're moving towards something, having good mental health, having a good self-image, having a good self-worth. And that is actually what will come across and be obviously portrayed towards the woman when you're speaking to her. And she'll gravitate towards that, even if you haven't necessarily got the outer world or the outer game sorted just yet. Sometimes a woman will bet on a horse, right? And she might say, you know what? I think this guy's going somewhere. And I think for the young men who are going to watch this, I know you've got a big audience of like young men who watch, you ain't going to have the resources that somebody who's 40 years old, who's an MD in a big company, or he works in investment banking for 10, 15 years has. So the only way you can compete with them guys is by showing that you have a fucking plan of how to get there and believing in yourself full force that you're going to make it there. Because if you don't, you're toast. You need to basically show indicators that you're going to get there in the future. I speak to so many girls who are early 20s and they all say to me, you know what? Yeah, I could maybe get a 35-year-old guy who's got it all sorted out already, but I'm actually attracted to a guy who I can grow with and go on a journey with. That's actually more attractive to a lot of women than a guy who's actually got it already a lot of the time. But you need to have your shit together. And like you said, it comes down to your belief in yourself. And when she can see that you're grinding and going places and she's been along on the ride, they all want, it's a movie script. When you watch Conor McGregor's like notorious documentary and you see Dee Devlin, his wife with him on at the beginning of it, right? When he's on the dole and shit like that, and then he makes it to fucking fighting Floyd for 100M. That's a story that all women want to be or a part of, right? But you need to actually have your ambition intact and actually have a plan of how to get there. If your plan's wishy-washy and you start doubting yourself along the journey, that's when she's going to start wandering eyes and looking for somebody else, if you haven't got the assets already.
Facts. You explained that so well once again. But yeah, like it's like I think Rollo Tomasi. I just think I've heard him say it. It's like women always wait at the finish line, but like you said, sometimes they're ready. They're willing to bet on a horse if it's more risk for a woman, but it pays off in terms of, so like, for example, those 35-year-old men that have it, they have the money. Why are they 35 and still single? You know, there's going to be cracks in their character. Any man that's 35 making that kind of bread, if he was that special, a woman would have wifed him up long ago. You know, all the good guys get wifed up. You know, all the good blokes, women will not, once they get a grip on them, they won't let them go. The real G's. some of these guys make a lot of money, but they lack the inner game. And I've heard stories of it. And I'm probably one of those cases of these younger guys where a girl's like, you know what, this guy is doing something, like, you know, and she believes you. You know, it's not about, you know, you have to get some small wins here and there. You don't have to have it all, but it's the belief in yourself. And when you look at, women are intuitive creatures. They feel you. They're very intelligent on an emotional level. So if you're saying stuff, yeah, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have that, and you don't feel it, you don't like believe that you can have it. But when you look her dead in the eye, and you say, yeah, I'm going to do this. Like, watch me, I'll do it. Because my girlfriend, I say it all the time. I'm going to have a blue tick. I'm going to make $100,000 a month. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. She's like, I believe you. I believe you. You know, and like, I'm like, you believe me? Like, why do you believe me? I don't understand. But clearly it's the conviction in what I'm saying. It's like, and that's what you need, you know, ambition. Women find that extremely attractive because it's, like you said, it is actually fulfilling that biological need of financial security, or, you know, on that security level. It's like you're fulfilling it, but in a sense of more, you're making or not a promise, but it's like, it's something she can bet on. Like, it's okay, right, you've got potential, you know. It's like that horse. Apparently this horse is a really good horse, so I'm going to bet on this, rather than being like, has this horse got anything good going on? No, okay, I'll just wait at the finish line where it's safer, you know. But if she thinks, actually, this guy's got a good chance, let's go with him, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I really like the way that you put that, to be fair. I've never looked at it as though you are actually fulfilling the biological need just through your ambition alone. But when you put it in that context, it does make a lot of sense. But
it's all emotion, though. Women are in the present creatures. They run off of emotion. So when they look on the road and they see a guy in a Lamborghini get out in a suit who's like muscly, it creates an emotion in them. You know, they feel, whoa, and that's where their attraction is drawn. But all you have to do is create that same energy that's being given off, because that guy's obtained those things. He can get out that Lamborghini with that confidence, like, look at me, I'm the shit. Creates an emotion. All you have to do is have that inner confidence so that you can embody that in a setting that doesn't have to be where you've actually made it. But it's almost like you believe, you know, like affirmations. What do you say? You say things like, I'm so grateful that I have obtained this. It's like you're already there when you're not. And that creates, for a woman, that if you truly believe in it, it's like she falls for it. Like, she actually believes it too. You know what I mean?
It's frame at the end of the day, right? Frame. It's your frame. That's the best way to put it. It's just frame, right? And it's about your beingness. Who are you as a person? And I think with Rolo and stuff like that, I guess, obviously we've all heard the famous quote, women wait at the finish line. And I do agree with it to a degree. Obviously, when you get to the finish line, your options open up massively. However, along the way, there's always going to be options there if you're ambitious and you're getting your shit together, and you've got a plan of how to get your shit together. So yeah, I mean, one of the things that I learned a few years ago was obviously the formula to manifestation, right, is a 3-step process, they say, and everybody's got it reversed. So they think it's having, like, you need to have the thing, then you need to do the thing, then you need to be the thing. Or once you've got the thing, then you could do the things that the guy who's got the thing can do, and then you are the guy who's got the thing. When it actually is in reverse, it's beingness, then doing this, then having this. Who are you in the beginning? And already from speaking to you, you're a guy that's earning 100K a year. You're a guy that's got a blue check. Internally, that's who you are. Then what are you doing? You're doing the things that a guy who's earning 100K is doing. You were on podcast last night, getting Ubers home after fights broke out. You know what I mean? We were on a podcast this morning after literally waking up a couple of hours ago, right? Do you know what I mean? Obviously, you're in shape. You go to the gym. I can see you're consistent with your training. You're being and doing the actions that a guy who's got the 100K and the blue tick has already. So that's who you are, but you need to be the guy before you can actually have the stuff that the guy has. And that is essentially what I get from your message, which is, like I said, it's frame, right?
Yeah, 100%. I like that. Yeah.
It's cool. Interesting. Well, what do you think of like the dating market today? Because in my head, it's a very, very confusing time for a lot of young men, I would say. And I think that's probably why we're seeing the world kind of shape up the way that it is at the moment, just in terms of men are more sexless than ever. Women are very unsatisfied and childless in their 30s and 40s. So what's your take on all of that? And what would you say is the remedy to it?
Right. Well, my take on that is that we live in a society that we live in the new age, like the social media age. You know, we have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have music, things are being, you know, if we look back into 50 years ago, we had what was called sexual liberation. We had, you know, going against the grain, being a rebel, having sex, you know, fuck marriage. And this was the initial start of all this stuff. And now we're at a point in society where these sexual liberation party, this stuff has been blown out of proportion to the point where we've like exhausted all possibilities, all avenues of how it could be. And it's at that point where relationships are like diminishing. Everything's about sex. Everything's about feeling good. You know, sex has become the epitome of what life is. But we're not talking about love. We're talking about lust. We're talking about people just banging each other, getting notch counts, and this is what they're, you know, this is what they're perceiving as like the highest value thing they can do, like in their life to fulfill them. But yeah, like where am I going with this? You know, and we're just at a point where what was the question? So it was just like,
just in terms of like dating today, what do you think is the remedy to get it sorted? I guess it's such a loaded question.
It's tough. Like, it's tough because the women these days are corrupted. They're corrupt. You know, their egos are inflated. They're able to go on Instagram and have hundreds of guys messaging them. It makes them think there's something they're not. You know, because of the, you know, way what works with sex, people are banging each other, creating bonds with people. Their hearts are getting broken. Women don't deal with heartbreak well. They start building defensive. They start building walls. So when a nice guy comes along to approach a female, she's been through a few different guys, been hurt, and now it's really hard to get to her on that emotional level because she's built a lot of defenses. So women are becoming more masculine in that sense, because that's quite a masculine trait, you know, these kind of things. Whereas men nowadays, most men the bar is so low in terms of, like, the bar is so low to kind of beat the competition as a man. You don't have to do much. You know, you just have to watch a few videos of self-help, make a few tweaks, and you're already better than like 80-90% of guys. You know what I mean? But then to really get into like the high value bracket, yeah, it's going to take a lot more work. But the remedy to it, I would say, is just that there needs to be, like, so for example, as men, right, you've gone out of your way to study self-help, to study and understand things about female nature and things of that nature, right? In order for you to have a better opportunity on the sexual marketplace, in order for you to eventually, you know, your end goal is, it may be sex, but it may also be, I actually want to find someone to spend my life with, right?
Yeah.
Which is at our spiritual core, that's what we want, you know. On a biological level, yeah, we want to get bitches, but deep down, you know, to fulfill us on a spiritual level, we need that, you know, higher consciousness connection with someone, right? And that's what's truly important. But we're never going to get there, like you said. We're never going to get there if we're not fulfilling our biological needs. Now, men are starting to take the torch and make themselves what they need to be to attract a women. But the thing is, because the women are getting all the attention, because the women have the value, they inherently have the value, they're automatically valuable. They don't feel the need, because men actually have to step up to feel value. They don't feel the need to do self-help, to learn, to do this stuff. And they don't, because guys throw themselves on them, guys grovel for them. But deep down, a lot of these attractive women don't actually have very many options. They have so many guys messaging them. They actually don't have many options, because how many of those guys are they actually attracted to, actually think are on level? Yeah, you might have 100 DMs, but how many of those guys do you actually interested in, you know? So there's that element, but then there's also this element of, where a lot of high value men will deal with a woman, and because they have high standards, she starts acting like this, acting like that, wanting to be a boss bitch, doing all these things that society's telling her to do that is attractive. And he's like, nah, fuck this, you know, and he cuts off. So there's never a bridge that's ever able to be met. It's always, maybe for a period of time someone's together, but because of these clashing ideologies, no one can form a relationship. So the solution to it is essentially that men need to do the work first, right? Men are the leaders. But once we've done the work, we've built ourselves up. Like, we're both guys probably could say we're of high value, you know, in comparison to the average guy. We've done the work. Women need to do the same. Women need to, but their work is different to our work. They don't need to go build a business. They don't need to build a body. They don't need to do all this crazy stuff like men. That's a masculine imperative. That's not a feminine imperative. The feminine is a different energy, and opposites attract, you know. polarity, the laws of polarity, the more of something you are, the more masculine you are, the more feminine you'll want to attract a woman. So if we're becoming masculine, we're doing all these masculine things to be attractive. We want it, in order to be a good prospect for us, you need it to be feminine. And to do that, that's going to take for a lot of women, because of the wounds they have. They need to heal, you know, they need to open their hearts again. They need to, you know, be okay with being led, and, you know, not like, you know, that word submitting, women don't like that word because it makes them think they're like being controlled and stuff, but not so much submitted, but being able to admire and wanting to respect and appreciate your man. And when you fall into that, that's when you've got a nice relationship that
100%.
She's being fulfilled, her feminine's being fulfilled, his masculine's being fulfilled. Boom. The problem is the mind is getting in the way, where we have these ideologies of how we're supposed to be. Women think that they're not supposed to be caring and look after their person, and they're supposed to go out into the world and make money and do this and do that, when that's what the world is trying to tell them, because the world has an agenda to misconstrue the relationships, because they don't want people to get. And that's what it takes. It takes women to start realizing that that's what needs to happen. And it's very, very difficult. And, you know, to do that in the modern dating age, to find a woman that's ready to go, you know, it's pre-made package with no brainwashing, is difficult. It's very rare, equally as it's very rare to find a very high value man. So you have a choice, you know, as a man, you could take a woman and lead her to that point of making her come to that realization of that's how you're meant to be, you know, that's how a feminine woman should be, kind of molding her how you know, not to say how you want her to, but what would best suit both of you, what makes you the best together. So yeah, that's kind of what I think.
Yeah, man, you explained that very, very well. I can't really add much to that. Yeah, I mean, the only thing it's not even an add to it because you mentioned it, but as you said, man, it starts with guys, right? Women inherently by their nature are followers, right? And men are leaders. So for this shift to happen in the ideology of the woman, the man obviously needs to shift his ideology first, because you wouldn't have women acting this way if there was enough men out there who were on their shit and masculine enough. Because like you said, naturally, when a woman's around a man who's very masculine, she immediately turns a lot more feminine. And it's very interesting. Like I speak to some of the young guys that I help and stuff like that. One of them, he grew up with a single mother pretty much his whole life. And he's been going gym, getting his stuff together, getting his like life on track and stuff like that. And immediately the relationships with the women who have been in his life for the whole time he's been alive are starting to change. And they're being more feminine around him as he's becoming more masculine and more stable. And you honestly get the best from a woman in terms of what she has to offer from a feminine perspective when you yourself as a man are more masculine and are in touch with your masculinity at a higher level. You get better results from all the women that you're with, not in some scientific laboratory kind of way, but you just do, right? So I think, like you said, man, it starts with men. And I think that's why this movement, people like yourself, and obviously what I'm trying to do myself on TikTok right now, Tate, very, very important right now, just because I think men need to change first. That's when we're going to see the switch happen in women. But I mean, with the black pill and incels and all this stuff, it's a big ask. It's a big ask right now. But yeah, man, I mean, it's been a good conversation, man. I didn't know how deep and extensive your knowledge was until coming on the call with you, man. But you know your stuff.
Yeah, and you sound like you know your stuff too. You know, it's one of those things that is, for me, it's like, you know, when people say they have like a life purpose and they've been put on earth to fulfill it, I truly think that this is what, for some reason, this is what the message I need to like give. You know, this is what God has sent me to do. Like, you know, people could argue against that, yada yada yada, but I truly think that that's something. My experiences in life have kind of led me to this point of realization. Like, this is a truth that I've uncovered. At one point, I didn't care about. I used to say things like, I don't want to get married. Like, fuck marriage is stupid. I just want to, like, I literally had a mindset like, I just want to fuck loads of girls. Like, why I had that mindset, I have no idea. Like, how, you know, low the bar, like how just fruitless my like mentality was. And certain things showed me a different truth. You know, the society led me astray. A society kind of in a blue pill / red pill sense. Like, it wasn't like I was blue pilled, but I think almost like too red pill made me realize that's not right either. You know, it's like you need to, it's like having, you need to have the weapons, but it doesn't mean you have to use them. You know, it's like you need to know how to navigate a world of like fucked upness, but still go for what's right, not just, oh yeah, everyone just, just bang girls and that's life, just keep a rotation, like
Yeah.
it's fruit, and as a man, like the Conor McGregor example, he's a perfect example of someone who found a woman who they both loved each other and they maintained their relationship for a long time. And as a result, she was the helpmate. And that's the role of the woman, the helpmate. She's willing to not want to be the top G, the top boss. She's like, no, he's the top, he's the king, and I'm the queen. I'm here to help him. I'm here to support him, look after him. That's the feminine. And women want to do that, but naturally, that's what their body wants to do. Equally, like for a man, when we watch fights, we don't think, oh, I'd really love to, go in and pat his bruises after the fight. No, we think, I want to get in the ring and have a fight. It's just the masculine. It's how we're designed. But yeah, like you said, society's trying to flip that. It's trying to switch it around. They're trying to make boys girls and girls boys. And, it's like you get told off for saying this now. It's like, oh, you can't say that. Da, 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 da. But that's the kind of world we're moving into. But if you're a smart guy, you need to realize that as a man, you're not a woman. And that's what you need to embody. You need to, and the society ain't going to help you become that. So you need to go out of your way to figure out what you need to do to start becoming that person. And that's what men need to do. And it's crazy. But you'll reap the benefits. Because like you said, when you're masculine, by nature, women are just going to respond to you better. Because the thing is, all these ideologies in their head. So like, this is one of the things I tell myself. It's like, if you have a girl or a girlfriend, she's either in your frame or she's in the rest of the world's frame. She's either being influenced by you or the TV, and whatever the fucking, or the, Instagram or whatever they're telling her isn't good. It's not going to benefit you. And I don't mean that in a selfish context. I mean it more in like it's like a kind of a war that's going on right now in terms of, I don't know if you're familiar with like the fact that there is like this kind of battle, like spiritual warfare that's going on to kind of make men weak because it's an agenda. It benefits society.
Of course. With taking a band, even all that kind of, it's just
exactly
so clear,
scared.
Man.
They're scared. That's everyone says, oh, it's because he's this. No, they are scared. They are scared because this man has so much influence because he's a very unique character in where his system to create social media fame is unique to, like, he's the only one who could pull it off because he had the money to do it, and he built a system that allowed him to have his face on thousands of accounts all over social media. So his coverage over, the world just grew, and he built this like momentum, and he got into like, I was watching Andrew Tate from January. I knew about him in January of this year. And then, then I was at the beach in summer and I hear people talking about Andrew Tate and I'm thinking, this is crazy. Like one man, like, wow, one person can actually have so much influence on the world.
Yeah.
And I think, but then it's like, he's so powerful because what he's saying doesn't go with what society wants. They have to get rid of him by any means necessary because he's a misogynist, because he said this, because he said that. And who cares who he is? It's kind of the point of like, is it right that we can just cut people off because it benefits someone at the top who has the power? And that's the problem. It's the freedom of speech. I think that's what the issue is.
Yeah. No, I completely agree, man. Yeah, I mean, my advice, to be honest with you, with like all young men, exactly what you said, man. No one's coming to save you, right? I mean, you've got good mentors out there, and there's a lot of information out there on the internet now that you just need to go out of your way and seek. And even me and you, to this day, I guarantee you're somebody that is reading books every day, still on mentorship, still learning from people like who are further along the road than you are. And you're ahead of so many other people. So how does it make sense for people that are not in shape or don't have their shit on track the same way that we do to not be at least doing what we're doing, right? We're already ahead of them. So, I mean, if I'm speaking to young men today, the first thing I say, and I guarantee you'll probably say this as well when you obviously have your coaching clients and stuff like that, the gym. That's got to be number one. That's a fundamental now. If you're not in shape, if
you ain't training, you're not a man,
Literally, you need to get in shape, man. And from that point onwards, I think some other parts fall into place. But the gym, continuous education, unbrainwashing yourself essentially from the societal norms and conditions that have been placed upon us is actually going to get you to where you want to be and attract the relationships that you want with women. But yeah, That would be my advice, and 100% I agree with what you were saying in regards to obviously what they call like the war on masculinity today as well. I think it's very rife, but once you have an eye that is sort of able to observe everything, and you don't just jump and get polarized by your emotions and listen to the news and listen to what this person says and listen to the headlines, oh, Andrew Tate beat up his girlfriend, you know what I mean, or whatever it is, and you actually dig deeper and you're objective in your view of the world, that's when you start to see things a lot more clearly.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, you banged that on the head. Cool. What do you want to wrap up then?
Yeah, man, we'll wrap. We don't need to do this again.
We'll do a little question for the end though. What would you say, what would be one like book that you, if there's one book that you could give to anyone that you think would just yield so much value, what would it be? Or mainly men, because we're probably talking more to men here. Like if you could walk up to some guy on the street and say, look, read this book, it's going to change your life, what book would you give them? You probably have loads in your head.
Yeah, honestly, because do you know what it is? It's about all of the books coming together in one. That's kind of the way my brain works. So I have one book in mind, I'm like, okay, but if you read this and you don't have the understanding of this, then you're not going to yield the same benefit. So, but if I had to give one book, I think I mentioned it on my TikTok before. It's a book called The Values Factor by John Demartini. I swear by this book because to me, and I think you'll absolutely agree with this, the most important thing in a man's life is his purpose. Once you have purpose as a man, that is when your life starts to go in the direction that you want it to go. And he has a quote in the book where he says, when the voice and the vision on the inside is louder than all of the voices and the visions on the outside, that's actually when you begin to master your life. And the only way the voice and the vision on the inside gets bigger and louder is when you are in touch with your purpose and you know where you're going. So that is the foundation, is understanding human values and understanding how your values dictate where you're going to go in life and how your values will dictate exactly what your purpose is. And the funny thing about it is, once you have a value, or once you know what your values are and you have a purpose, emotional stability actually comes back into your life. And there's two things that will determine how good your mental health is completely. If you want to know the game on mental health, it's these two things.
Man, this is solid, man.
Yeah, this is honest. What I would say mental health comes down to, having good mental health, it's lopsided perceptions on fantasies and delusions, right? For example, you go for a breakup, it seems and looks as though it's the worst thing that ever happened to you. But I guarantee any man that's gone for a breakup before and come out the other side of it will all say the same thing. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. I needed to go through it. It got me back onto my shit, because challenge inherently brings you back onto your purpose and repurposes you to where you want to go in life. So having the ability to actually perceive life's events in an objective fashion or in an objective way is one of the ways that your mental health will improve. The other way is having your purpose and knowing where you're going in life. I'm sure you've probably read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, when he talks about obviously how he survived the concentration camps and how the people that survived. Yeah, well, that's a great read, man. You should read that, because that gives a big insight how to have good mental health. But having purpose and knowing where you're going in life is the second key to having good mental health. Once you have purpose and you know where you're going, it's easy to withstand all the bullshit on the outside, because you know exactly where you're going in life. So it solves so many issues. The way I view that book, and the reason why I recommend it to all men, is because one, it solves your mental health. Two, once you know what you truly love and you truly value, like you do, for example, you have a plan, or can at least put a plan together on how you're going to become financially free. Your relationships are more fulfilled, because a woman wants a man who's on purpose and not someone who's fucking just getting blown around in the wind like a leaf that's not even on a tree anymore. Do you get what I'm saying? Physically, you can map your world around your purpose, so you're physically aligned with your goals. Financially, everything, or your whole life is designed and created once you discover your purpose, essentially. So discovering that as the first step is the key to mastery and moving forward. That's why I recommend that book.
And that book was what book, sorry?
The Values Factor by John Demartini.
That's a book that I think guys need to pick that one up, because I do coaching and the you know, like you do semen retention and stuff, right? You're familiar with that?
Yeah.
So like that is something that I found. I need to get this book, because it's probably going to help you with my mentoring. But you know, guys find their purpose when they remove all those distractions. Then it reveals itself, you know, and that's what I get. I'm like, look, just keep doing the semen retention, and eventually it will just come to you. One day you'll wake up, you're like, I want to do this, and this is like the thing that actually fulfills you. because you have all the feelings of nice feelings are gone. Now you have your heart, you're cooling, you know. And it's crazy because when you just explained that to me, I got chills, right? And like something that probably, I don't know if anyone's ever told you this, but one of my friends mentioned it, is when you get chills, it's actually, you know how you mentioned there's the mind, the body, and the spirit, right? When you get chills, it's actually the spirit. That's its reaction. Like the spirit is saying, boom, that 100%. Hit home. And it's when you, even now with me talking, I'm getting like chills.
Yeah.
It's like my spirit is there, man. It's crazy.
That's it, man. That's it. I agree. I've heard that before. Yeah, man.
So I don't know, man. Like that's what you got to know. So if someone says something to you and it gives you chills, that's because it's right, you know. And the body and the mind is gonna. It's not you, you know. That spirit is you. The mind, the body, that ain't you. That's just some bullshit, you know. And they're using this mind as a weapon against you. And they're trying to make you a slave to your mind. That's why we go to school and learn all this bollocks. Have to sit down and look the same and shut up, listen, do what you're told, because they want to make sure that we're just good enough, just smart enough to work a job, but not smart enough to start doing anything else that goes against, you know, what whoever's in the control want, basically. That's probably a very Andrew Tate thing to say. It's true.
That's it. Do you know what the thing is, though? Yeah, I went on to the bottom of your TikTok. You've been involved in. Yeah, I think we've got 5 minutes left.
Sweet.
Yeah, I went to the bottom of your TikTok, right? And you've been on this kind of journey, from what I can see, when you first started uploading early 2020. Do you get what I'm saying? Tate blew up in early 2022. You've been on this for 2 years before he actually became something. And this is something that I need to say, because whenever anybody comes out today and is like discussing masculinity or trying to help young men and this and the next, immediately people say, oh, you're trying to be like Tate. No, motherfucker, I'm not trying to be like Tate. I'm trying to be myself. Do you get what I'm saying? I've been on this journey before Tate. Tate came along and basically bust open the door for a lot of people to say, you know what, fuck it. To be fair, I didn't realize how big the issue was. That's kind of what happened to me. I was like, shit, he's making a good point. And I didn't realize there's a market for this kind of information. I've been doing this naturally for 5 or 6, 7 years. I could tell you've been doing this naturally for 5 or 6, 7 years. You just haven't maybe put yourself out there online. Although you did in your case, right? You were there before Tate. So when people say stuff like you, oh, that sounds like Tate, it's like, mate, you've been doing this for ages already, man. And it's so frustrating to hear people say that nowadays when we've been doing this for ages. Do you get what I'm saying? And I think some people just need to understand that, like someone like yourself or someone like me, you don't get to this level of information just by consuming Tate for 6 months. This is 5, 6, 7 years already.
That point you're making doesn't bother me, because my goal, like, I'm not looking for praise. I'm not looking for people to recognize me as the guy who did it. I'm already fulfilled because I'm fulfilling this masculine part of my life. I'm already happy, man. I'm chilling. Like, I'm already good. You know, I'm on my purpose. Whether that means lots of viewers or not, it doesn't matter. As long as I'm doing my best every day, moving towards that goal, that keeps me fulfilled. If I'm waking up and I'm not putting in the work that I know I could be and should be, that's what makes me feel a bit uneasy, you know. But because the masculine imperative is purpose, it's their mission, right? Female's imperative is relationship, finding love. So a man who's not fulfilling that won't feel hit. For a woman that's not getting love from her partner, her nervous system gets tight, it gets tense. She can't relax into her feminine because she doesn't feel like she's being supported emotionally. But for a man, it's equally the same. The masculine imperative is the mission, is the purpose. So if a man doesn't feel like he's doing his purpose that he should be, his nervous system isn't relaxed. It can't relax. He feels tight, he feels tense. As soon as you've got that work done, you've done all the work, you've posted the videos, you've done this, you've done that, you go to bed, you put your head on that pillow, you know you did everything you could that day, and you sleep well. And that's the beauty of like tapping into that purpose. It's a much more happy way to live your life.
Definitely. What's the book that you would recommend if you had to give one recommendation?
Ooh, I'd probably say the book Letting Go by David Hawkins. I don't know if you ever read that.
Haven't, no.
It's all about like emotions and how we get emotions trapped, and it causes us to create thoughts, and people live like they don't release their emotions and they have them held on to them for decades. And you know how it's kind of a very spiritual book, but it's a book that really helped me in my life, just kind of deal with like anger, because anger was a problem, you know. And yeah, I like that book. And then if not, I'd say The Way of the Superior Man is just a really good book.
I've never read that book before.
What? That's a good book, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I
I've never
picked that
read
one
it.
up.
It's on my list. It's on my list for next year for sure.
Yeah, it's some crazy shit in that book, so I'd recommend that.
Definitely, man. Definitely, man.
Cool.
It's been a pleasure, man. Appreciate your time. Definitely need to do
And
this
you.
again.
No, I appreciate you. Yeah, we'll definitely do another one. Maybe we'll see. We'll try and figure something out, but we'll do some more stuff together for sure.
100%, man. 100%. But yeah,
Sweet.
catch you soon, man.
Thanks everyone for watching.
See you
Take
later.
care.
Bye.